Today we are here to discuss with you the incidents that gave rise on September the 14th, 2023, after a football game between Minor High School and Jackson Olin High School here in the city of Birmingham. This incident gave rise to Mr. Mims being excessively tased with what we have termed as a stun gun or a taser in common terms. We feel that it was an assault on him physically as well as on his character.
I guarantee you, Mr. Johnny Mims did not wake up last Thursday to say he was going to a football game to be treated like a criminal. That was not his intent. So what we are saying is, let's have some accountability. Right now, Mr. Mims has been placed on administrative leave by his school district, as if though he was wrong. He was wrong. I have not heard anything saying what is going to be done to the officers that was involved in this situation. Yes, we are requesting that Mr. Mims be put back to work, because it was not his fault.
Dale Jackson here for Yellow Hammer Now. Looks like we're going to continue our conversation about Johnny Mims, the now suspended Minor High School band director who decided he didn't have to listen to lawful orders from law enforcement, which is exactly what they were. And he has now hired an attorney, Wanda Lingavan, which was probably not a good idea in this situation. The AEA has gotten behind him as well because they care about teachers, and that's about it. And the excuses we are hearing is now that he just wanted to finish the song because he loves his kids so much. That's why he did this. That's why he told cops to get out of his face, out of love for kids. This sounds like a good idea to argue in the press. Go right ahead and do so. Not sure that's going to work out for you, but their only chance here at him getting his job back and him not getting in any trouble is to turn the public against the Birmingham Police Department. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm definitely not saying it's the right idea, but that's the idea that they have come up with. Now, I will give you my 5 points and 5 things that should happen at the end of all of this as soon as we play this clip we're about to play. This clip is from a press conference that the AEA, the Alabama Education Association, put together for Mr. Mims, his attorney, and others to make statements that only hurt his case, but for some reason they definitely want to get involved in. So good for them. Wonderful. The question that's being asked here is pretty simple. The question is, hey, shouldn't you have just complied? Wouldn't that have made everything better and a whole lot easier for everyone involved? And Mr. Mims says, nah, no reason to do that.
It shouldn't. If you look in that video, you can see the officer leaning over. And so the only feedback you're getting from me was letting the officer know because you're between me and the students. And so you're interfering. If you wanted it was important for us to cut off or for us to leave, you're interfering with the opportunity for me to do that with the students by being in front and yelling at me. So,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I couldn't stop because you were telling me to stop. And you were right in front of me telling me to stop. So I was telling you to get out of my face and then tell me to stop in some other way. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's the only way you could possibly pretend this makes any sense is if you turn your brain off completely. She's asking him, why were you telling cops to get out of your face? Why didn't you just comply? And that doesn't sit well with his attorney, Wanda Lingavan, in the awesome glasses. And she'll weigh in here in a little bit and tell her how bad that question is and what reporters actually need to do. But he's basically saying, I couldn't stop then because the cop was between me and the students, and I didn't understand what was going on. That's why I kept telling him to get out of my face. Maybe he just thought he was a parent or something.
it should have never escalated because officers, we're taught, and as an educator, you're taught that people are going to say stuff to you all the time, but you still have to keep your composure. And for me,
yeah, get out of my face. Get out of my face to cops. That's the composure. I'm sure that's what you're taught. Way to go, AA. Stand behind this logic. If a cop tells you to do something, yell at him, get out of our face, get out of our face. I'm sure that's exactly how you're told to handle things.
that was an opportunity for we're done with the end of the song. We get off the podium, you pull me off the side and say, hey, listen, these are the situations why we need to have you guys leave. None of that information was communicated. And you can hear in the video how the officer was approaching me. And the same thing, it's got to be a respect on both sides.
It actually doesn't have to be a respect on both sides. There doesn't have to be respect anywhere. Was the order lawful or not? That's it. He told you to stop. He made it clear it was time to go. He said why, and you were defiant. Get out of my face started all of this. You said it multiple times. You did it in front of students because you thought you were being cool and you were bowing up. And look how it went. Can't even take responsibility for your own actions.
And I feel like that was exactly what wasn't done.
And I want to add something to that because that question, is Valerie? Valerie, that you just asked, you need to see all of the video footage. You need to see the JO side of the field. How did they approach the JO band director? At what time and what period did the JO band director stop? Was he playing? Was he in mid-song? What was he doing at the time he was so when you're saying that they said stop, they may not have said stop to the band director while he was actually up conducting.
Why does that even matter? So something he doesn't know about affected his behavior? Makes absolutely no sense. The reason why the cops were agitated is because they had to go tell both bands to stop. One of them did, one of them didn't. So now you're arguing that because they went to him in a different way, that his behavior is okay? Look, you're never going to get to the point where I got pissy with the cops, I got sideways with the cops because the cops weren't nice to me. That's never going to work. But that's what we're going with. And by the way, this is how you know he's screwed. Because now we're trying to say he acted out because they didn't respect him enough. And I think he knows it by looking at his face.
So that's why I want you all to get copies of the video footage and see the real story as to what happened. They may not have walked up to the JO band director and used certain words that I cannot say here today.
The only thing he remotely said is, I'm going to sweep their asses out of here, after he said, get out of my face. My guess is when he went and talked to the other band director, he didn't push back at all. And I think if she knew that did not happen, and he did push back in some way, shape, or form, she wouldn't be saying this. She doesn't know anything. I don't think she's seen that footage. But we'll see. Maybe there is some footage of them going over to the other person and be like, excuse me, sir, would you please stop? And him saying, no, get out of my face. And then them saying, oh, well, ha, 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 stop when you want to. Maybe that comes to me. Or maybe they said, hey, you need to stop. And he said, okay.
And approached the JO band director in the way they approached my client. You can hear on one of the pieces of footage that the police, one of the officers are saying that they were going to call Dr. Sullivan or the superintendent. And if not, my client would have to pay them overtime.
That's not what they were saying. They were saying that there's going to have to be overtime paid if they have to stay out there. They weren't suggesting it was going to come out of Mr. Mims' paycheck. It's just stupid. These are dumb arguments.
So was it a thing that they were so ready to leave that they, because it's just a monetary issue? At the end of the day, I have much footage that will demonstrate that there's more to this story, but regardless of what happened, shy of him actually physically trying to harm a police officer, there was nothing. And there is nothing you can't show me in a code book. You can't show me anywhere in writing. Because if that were the case, that anybody, if you say something back to the police, that you should be arrested, you don't see that.
It's called disorderly conduct. They've made that pretty clear. He was arrested for disorderly conduct. And then when they tried to cuff him, he resisted. That's what happened. And then he shoved a police officer. So I'm sorry. It's very clear. During the tussle, he shoved a police officer. I don't know why this seems so hard for them to understand. But she's trying to defend her client. I mean, she's not doing a good job, but she's trying.
You don't see anything in a code book that says that you can be automatically tased or assaulted.
No, she's right about that. That's some good lawyering right there. There is nothing in the code book that says you can be automatically tased and assaulted. Is she going to get on the Supreme Court? I mean, I know she's going to meet with Kamala Harris because of what a great job she's done as a legislator. You know, like when she stood on the floor and called a black Republican the N-word. Yeah, that was great. That was wonderful. Send her to Washington, D.C. Maybe she'll be our next congresswoman.
Don't see that in a code book. If that's the case, many of you in this room today would have been apprehended at the mere fact that a police officer stopped you to ask you or to inform you that you were speeding. So that's not an excuse, and I'm going to stop that right now. It's unacceptable for my client to be tased the way he was tased by the Birmingham Police Department. It was excessive.
But you do realize the scenario you just laid out isn't what happened. And we all know it. We saw it. He was asked repeatedly. He got mouthy with them. They said, we're going to lock you up. We're going to take you to jail. He didn't care. And then as soon as it was over, he jumped down. They had an interaction. He resisted. They tried to put cuffs on him. You see the entire interaction. He's resisting and jostling, which is resisting arrest. They tased him because they couldn't get him under control. And you're basically arguing that they shouldn't have done any of this because there were kids there. And at this press conference, all these parents would later on go on to say their kids were traumatized and there were people fainting and all this other stuff. Yet, out of people with 1 million cell phones, there's not one cell phone video of a person fainting. So I don't believe that one bit. They're trying here. They're trying their best to win this in the arena of public opinion. I don't think that's going to work because we have video that we've seen. Unless there's some other video that they're just not releasing, you're going to have a hard time making that argument. But they're going to try. They're going to try. Because the only hope of getting this guy to keep his job is by proving wrongdoing on the part of the police. That's going to be a heavy lift here. The police clearly believe that because they've released it. And now, look how they're acting. And antagonizing the police and prosecutors and things like that by doing things like this, that's not good for Mims. It's good for Wandolyn Gavan. It's good for her. It is not good for Mims. This is a risky proposition here, and she is putting him in a pretty bad way. So, I told you at the beginning of this, I had 5 things that need to happen here. 1, fire Johnny Mims. 2, prosecute Mims. 3, give an award to all the cops involved. 4, the legislature needs to call a special session on school choice because this is a perfect example of why we need that. And 5, all the parents who came up and testified at this press conference, and I don't want to share any of their information, even their photos or images or anything they said, because how embarrassing for those students involved who claimed that they fainted and all this other nonsense. They're kids. They don't know any better. Their parents should. So all these parents should be reported to Child Protective Services for being willing to lie like this. There's no telling what else they're willing to do when it comes to something they want. Those are the 5 things that should probably happen. How many of those will happen? I predict 1 and 2. Mims will probably be fired and he will be prosecuted. And you know what? I'll take 2 out of 5 because I think Meatloaf said 2 out of 5 ain't bad. This is embarrassing for the state of Alabama. It's already got national media, and they're showing that they want to fight this thing out in the media. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Law enforcement has, again, already made it pretty damn clear that they are going to release this stuff and they're going to defend their officers. That could not bode very well for Mr. Mims. And once this immediate batch of media attention goes away, he's going to think he's going to be feeling pretty lonely with him and Wandolyn Gavan fighting a court case he probably can't win.